I am Patty Miller. I am the president and senior HR consultant with MillerNet HR and Business Solutions. And I'm a very proud coach with Core Values Index. I've been using this tool for around over 7 years. And I investigated a lot of tools out there that I literally wanted to put my money behind. And I landed on Core Values Index because of its extreme accuracy. So you've heard of DISC, Myers-Briggs, Colors, Profiles, all of those other good personality assessments. And that's exactly what they are. They are personality assessments. They are not an indication of how your innate, unchanging ways are, how you're wired. Okay, well, with Core Values Index, you will. What I really like so much about it is it's a human assessment tool versus a personality assessment tool. And I have worked with people from all levels of various personalities. We've got your extreme introverts, your extreme extroverts, and then everybody in between. And what I really see high value in CVI, and I hope others see as well, is it's breaking down some of the societal barriers that all women have more intuition or that all men have more power. And that is not true at all. That basically we all, we emote in different ways and we think in different ways and we problem solve in different ways. But the biggest thing is we go into our conflict strategy, and that is every human, no matter your language, diversity, anything, we all do that. And if you can learn how to catch yourself in the blessings, the stripes of your tiger, and knowing when to roar and maybe when to sit, then that will help us all with the people that we work with, especially with the neurodiverse individuals and loves in our life, because they just need our support and our love and our understanding and compassion. And it's not always easy to be that, when you're feeling emotionally charged as well. How do you manage that? And so when you can see how you're wired and how other people are, you can de-escalate situations far faster. So what I really like about Core Values Index, which has been has been done and taken over 1 million times globally, is the extreme accuracy behind the simplicity of the assessment itself. It only takes 10 minutes to complete, and it has 36 blocks of 4 very positive adjectives. And that is why the accuracy is so high, because as humans, we can trick people in a sense, where we want to tell you what we think you want us to know about us. And that's why the repeat score reliability for all those other personality assessments I mentioned earlier only have a repeat score reliability between 60 and 80%. So with Core Values Index, we call it a human assessment tool because it is more about the stripes of your tiger. And fun fact, if you were to shave a tiger's fur, their skin is tinted the same color as their fur. So so you really can't change who you are. And I believe that you could be mindfully aware of how you can grow into other areas to make help with more maturity and your own personal growth. But I truly believe that you ultimately can't change innately who you are and how you be. So that's why the power and the simplicity of the Core Values Index is so strong. It's important to start off with the definition of all the 4 energies. Now, I'm being very broad right now, speaking about each energy in its entirety of what that definition means, because sometimes people come to conclusions incorrectly when they see the word wisdom or power or knowledge, like I'm not smart, or I'm too fluffy because I have too much love, or there's many reasons why people may not like the certain energy names, but they were chosen mindfully by Lynn Taylor of Taylor Protocols, the gentleman who created this for over 30 years. And actually, interesting background on the creation of this. Lynn was recognizing, he was working in a hospital many, many years ago, and understanding that there were certain nurses and doctors who responded to situations, and they were starting to actually wire their heart rate. So their anxiety level or their just their I guess, anxiety level, really, and started to understand that when you are in anxiety or in flux, that you are not at your best. And so that was the foundation of how this all came to be. Of course, there's a lot more work that has gone towards this, but that's just a little bit of the background of how this came to be. So I'm going to start in going from left to right and then down around in the corner there. So power. So what power is not is it's not a bull in the china shop. It is not, it's got to be my way or no way, hell or high water kind of thing. It is not an aggressive, I must have my way no matter what. I just need to underscore that. What power is, it is the most intuitive of all of the four energies. And what I like about Core Values Index is I can actually identify men who have more intuition than women. And I can also identify women that might have more power than men. And so it's kind of breaking down societal barriers of where you feel like you must be because you're male or female. And I have actually used this with some really wonderful success and understanding for people who are on the spectrum, and I will explain that a little bit more as well. So getting back to power, so it is it's the most gray zone, as I mentioned. It is the most intuitive, and it is the most overt. So you demonstrate or you emote the most outwardly as a power energy. So it is basically the energy to make positive decisions, positive choices, and to take action and make good things happen. And because it's the most intuitive, you may not have all the data or details or facts, but you have enough confidence in yourself to take action and course correct along the way. I really want to underscore the catalytic value. So the catalytic value for power is faith. Has nothing to do with spirituality. It has to do with your inner faith, your inner confidence. It's not ego based. It is more from a creative mind where you have the faith to take action, and you don't need to have brain share or acknowledgement from everybody else for you to feel comfortable to make said decision. You've got that power within you to make that decision. That's something I really wanted to underscore. So power individuals, or people that have tappable energy and power, are those that make decisions for the benefit of a business. They take action, and then, as I mentioned, they course correct along the way. So it is, the faith. I know what I need to do, and my power is sufficient. And then it's action and results. Make things happen. Poop or get off the pot. Ready, aim, fire. Like, let's just go. I guess that's where even what I do when I'm in an emotionally charged investigation, or if I'm doing a termination and I'm taking out 5 people in one office, and I have to have everybody else that's not being removed in the boardroom, and I'll say, get to the boardroom. Like I say what needs to be said, because I'm doing what I need to do for the health of the business, and to take care of this emotionally charged action with the best of intention, best action, best results. And so that's where my power comes into play, right? So I'm not even emotional. I'm not even love anymore, really. I'm compassionate, but the decisions have been made. Now I'm taking action and results. So my power is alive.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a power person does not want to have more and more conversation. They don't want to have more meetings about it. They get actually irritated when certain other individuals, based on how they're wired, like to have more conversation about it and talking about it. And it's like, no, let's just take action, for crying out loud. I also find for various roles, like for, let's say, project managers, for leaders, for supervisors, office managers, anybody who has a level of authority where they need to make decisions, you need to have tappable power. That even includes salespeople, like external salespeople need to have power to close the deal. And an inside sales rep would need to be more on the wisdom side, because it's more repetition and it's more structure. So you'll get a chance to understand that. So when we're in power, you're feeling really comfortable and confident in all the good things that you're doing. And think of your dining room lights, your chandelier. When your power is healthy and full, your light is bright. And the biggest fear for a power person is to be seen as powerless, or basically impotent that way, and so that they have no power. So the biggest fear of a power person is to be seen with their energy not being recognized and valued, and so they go into their conflict strategy. For a power person, the conflict strategy is intimidation. Now remember, I said this is the one that emotes the most outwardly. So this is where an insecure or immature power person, I'm giving examples so you can maybe think of people in your life where they hit their hands on the table, or they finger point and what's the matter, and they kind of, they intimidate you down. They might stand over you in a boardroom or in your room, and basically they're trying to intimidate you down. And quite often that works because most people don't like conflict, so they go quiet. But that does not mean that the power person, yay power, they got 1 point for them. When you're going into your conflict strategy, you're never at your best. So I just need to underscore that when you go into conflict, you're never at your best. And if you can catch yourself going into conflict, that's where you start to grow. And I'll share some of my stories as well as we get through this. So it's decide and do, action and results, make good things happen. It's the confidence that you have a pretty good idea of the information before you, and you're going to take action, and then you course correct along the way. Okay. So going into love. So what love is not is, it's not touchy feely. It's not hugs and kisses. It's not emotionally like emoting and hugging. It's not that at all. It is not a weak energy. It is not a doormat. It is wanting to inspire and work with people for what amazing collective things you can do together as a duo or as a team, etc. So it's wanting to make good things happen, and it's seeing the value in others. Now, the catalytic value for love is trust or truth. So meaning that you have to feel comfortable and confident that that your spidey senses are going off, and that the person you're interfacing with, even if you're meeting them for the first time, that you feel that they're on the up and up, you're on the up and up. So let's continue interfacing and working together. So it is, and I say love. It's not like you have your hand on your sleeve, because that to me is a negative example where you are as if your emotions were raw and right on the surface, and you're ready to cry at a moment's notice. That's not it at all. The way I think of it, because I think of it even for myself as an HR consultant and leadership coach and life coach, is that I'm giving the best of me. And when people maybe criticize or judge or have an opinion about what I feel has been the best of me, that kind of hurts, right? So that would hurt anybody that has the love energy in them. So it's not like you have your hand on your sleeve, but it's more like you're giving the best of you, the best of your heart. And so when people are not valuing you for what you feel has been almost a piece of you, it wounds. And I want to stick on love a little bit, because I think there's a good chunk of the population, as I mentioned, is love wisdom, 75%, or wisdom love. And so this will help those that are not in love understand what they might need to be able to do in order to have more more congruency and more understanding when they interface with people of various energy and how they're wired. So it is wanting to, see the best in each other, and let's make good things happen. So for me as an HR consultant, I love it, and working with amazing people like yourself. What do you do? What's your pain points? And let's collaborate and let's make good things happen. And I'm already thinking, I can help you here, I can help you there. We could do things there, and it's a very, very creative energy, as I was mentioning. So it's truth, the way things are. Now here you are giving the best of yourself, and you're starting to go, why is that person treating me this way? Why is that person maybe standing me up again, or being late again for the meeting, or not doing the work that they promised that they would do? So you start to go, why are they doing that? Here I would not do that to them. Why are they treating me? So as love people, and I want to underscore this, as love people have a higher sense of fairness. So fairness in the sense that what I wouldn't do that, why would they do that? So we have this comparison that we do mentally, where we're going, why are they why are they behaving this way? I wouldn't be this way. Now, why I'm sharing that with you is when you start to feel that you're giving more and they're taking more, then truth or trust is leaving part of the relationship. And when for us love people, truth and trust means everything. So that expression of I trust you as far as I can throw you absolutely rings true for someone that is higher energy in the love energy. So it's very much relationships and vision, and what good things can we do collectively together. And so here it is, talk and listen and collaboration, etc. And but what happens is when truth is leaving the relationship, we start to go into manipulation, and manipulation presents in many ways for us love people. So it can be sarcasm. Great, thanks for showing up, or did you forget my phone number? Or it can be passive aggressive. Again, sarcasm, passive aggressive. It could be snide comments, and it can also be a sense of manipulation where you're going, Vince did this to me. I can't believe it. And I'm only trying to do that. And this is what's happened. And you're basically selling your side of the story to those that will give you the time and attention. So they go, you are right. And so is wrong. And it's a form of manipulation. So catch yourself when you get into that. Love people tend to use more loving type of verbiage. So, oh, I love that, more feeling type of words. So you can start to pick up when people start to talk, how they're wired a little bit, or at least I know I can because I've been using this tool for some time. But I have to share, I was going through an email string with a gentleman I was coaching, and I was just reading it, and I'm thinking, this guy's manipulating me. And not that I liked that I was being manipulated, but I caught it. And that's my point, is when you can catch it, when you can understand what the conflict strategy is for all of the four energies, that will give you tools to help you call it right then and there on what needs to be in the room right now. Is it power, love, wisdom, or knowledge? So I just wanted to underscore, we go into manipulation, and we are not good when we go into that. I catch myself, where I might be wanting to throw a comment or a jab, and I think, how is that going to solve anything? So us love people think we can throw five words of sarcasm out there, and we're actually going to illuminate that person with such grandeur that they're going to change their way. We're not doing that. In a sense, it's a paper cut, and it could be death by 1,000 paper cuts if we start manipulating people that way. So there are a lot of people that have love, that their energy is very high in love, but they're actually going through life in a very manipulative tactic. And we've met unhealthy people like that. You might have been able to see that. So for us love people, when truth or trust is no longer part of the relationship, you might even release that individual. And it could be a family member or a friend. You may have released some, people in your past life in high school or something. And if you have to work with somebody that you no longer trust, you'll be polite and friendly with them, but you're keeping them at arm's length. You're not going to share yourself anymore because you don't trust them. Why give anything more of yourself if they're not seeing the value of the good things that you have to offer? Does that make sense? So now we're going into wisdom. So wisdom is the way things are and what to do about it. So power and love was the more emoting outwardly, and now we're going more inward. So now we're going into our own mind. So a love person is happy to be with the people, talk, collaborate out loud, brainstorm, good things like that. When it comes to wisdom, this is now where we go more into ourselves, and we start to, I call it Rubik's cubing. You're coming through with all these different possibilities to get to the end goal with the least amount of conflict, hiccup, rework, with the most efficient, least amount of energy being expelled. Does that make sense? So you want to ensure that you are, just thinking about all the ways to get to that solution. And sometimes you do interface. If you are higher in love, you might interface and go, "What do you think?" Or you might make it more for yourself and just go more into your head. So the catalytic value is compassion. So someone might come up to you and say, "Cheeks, this is what's happening," and oh my gosh, and da 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 da, and they're just they're dumping it on you, right? What you do, because the catalytic value is compassion, is you simply thank them for that information, and now you're thinking about possible ways of to solve that. So you're not elevating to their state of mind, and you're not going to they're not pulling you down, so to speak. And now you are going into your mind and you're thinking, what are the possibilities of how I can make good things happen? So assess and solve is, the assessment of solutions, and basically, as I mentioned, how do I get to, to the end goal? And I really like when I catch myself in wisdom, and where you start to pontificate about all these other ways of how you can solve said problems. So the biggest fear for a wisdom person or a wise person is to be seen as unwise, or even stupid to some degree. And so our conflict strategy is interrogation. Now, that word was mindfully chosen to interrogate. Think of it as like ripping you a new one and tearing you down, like they're cutting you down, right? Because here they have been, in a sense, doing more homework internally than let's say a power person, right? The power person's like, let's just make good things happen. Whereas a wisdom person is like they're doing more homework in a sense. They're thinking more, they're expelling more energy to try and contribute as best as possible. And when they are being challenged for their wisdom, they will kind of almost, and what about this? And what about that? And you forgot about this. And they will bring forward all of the ideas that they have thought about, either they've either brought it forward or they haven't, but now you're going to get a barragement of this and this and this and this and this and this. So they're tearing you down. And so if, again, for most people, we go, what the, we're not used to that. So we kind of shut down. And depending on how harsh an interrogation might be, it can be a very wounding experience. So for wisdom people, they need to be mindful of how they go into interrogating and tearing people down. So now we're going into knowledge. So this is the most covert opposite, covert way of behaving. This is, if anything, this energy is the one that does their most due diligence than anybody else. So it is the conservation of information. And for knowledge people, they actually like to reserve and conserve their energy. They don't want to be scattered. They don't want, they've done their due diligence, they have their homework, they go through research and facts and Excel spreadsheets and data, and they are collecting all this information. And they're the ones that you hear, I redid that spreadsheet till 2 a.m. And you go, what? 2 a.m? Who wants to do that? But these people are energized by going into what I call the weeds and the data. They really get a charge of that. So for me, knowledge is my lightest energy, and I can go into it with concerted effort. And I could only stay in that energy for short bursts of time. And I even start to feel myself losing my own attention span. So the catalytic value is justice. So it's got to be fair and equitable for everybody. Now, fair doesn't mean it's got to be 50% for you, 50% for you. A knowledge person takes into consideration what would be fair, to the whole, but it's got to be fair for everybody. You can't give to one and nothing to the other, because that's not fair. So it's wanting to ensure that a knowledge person is bringing forward the data and that it's correct and accurate, and they really take their pride for that. So a knowledge person, opposite to love, where we want to be valued for the collaboration and the relationships that we're building with love. A knowledge person, if they were very high in that energy, does not care what people really think. And so this is where knowledge people have been incorrectly labeled, or have been you don't get them, right? Or you might find them as odd or quirky. And ironically, this is where I have found over the years where people can be on the spectrum in autism if they're very high in knowledge. And the reason I say that is because they're so good at getting all of the data that they need, that whether it's art or whether it's science or whether it's any topic that really speaks to them, they are experts at it. And so they don't necessarily care what other people think. They want to be valued for their brain. So sometimes they might be seen as pointed, or hey, you don't sugarcoat that, or boy, you put sure, you sure said that in a hard and harsh manner. And they're like, what? I'm just telling you the truth. And so they're actually a little bit confused. Sometimes their social emotional intelligence is a little bit light. Actually, it's very light. If you have high knowledge, your social emotional intelligence will be lighter. It's just how it is, because you're not reading the room. A love person can read the room, and they can, they're the ones making people comfortable. Have a seat. Can I get you a coffee? Come on in. Welcome. Have you met so and so? They're the ones that are kind of the social ones, making everybody feel more comfortable. And knowledge people, they don't really care. So and I've even said to knowledge people, and they go, I don't really care what they did on the weekend. Why should I ask them what they did? And I go, I know you don't really care, but because 75% of the population are love, wisdom, wisdom, love, it would be helpful for people that are wired with a higher energy and power or in knowledge to actually think of how to ingratiate themselves more with the love. And even if it's not in them to give, not that, and I have to underscore, that does not mean, I'm underscoring it in 1,000 different ways. A knowledge person doesn't mean that they are incapable of love. They're certainly very lovable. They're very, and they love strongly, just like we all do, but they emote differently. They will not be the ones that cry easier. They're the ones that actually shut down and go into their room, and they go quiet for the most part. So, a love person, or sorry, a knowledge person, you might say, give me the report by 4 o'clock. And if that knowledge person feels that they haven't been valued for all of their homework, and let's face it, they've gone into the weeds and they've dug deep to get their data to bring this forward. And if they're not being valued for that, then they shut down and they go into what's called aloof judgment. So they basically go quiet, and they think, why should I give you this data? If you say, give me my report at 4, they're going to go, no. They might give it to you at 4. They might give it to you at 4:05. You might have to go chasing for it because they don't want to share it. They think, why should I give the best of me? Because that is the best of them when you're not valuing. So ultimately, CVI, Core Values Index, is where you're being valued for the best of who you are, how you be. And I'm a big believer in giving people the work for, we all want to make that contribution in life based on how we're wired. Once we're fed, watered, and sheltered, similar to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, we all want to have that higher calling. We want to have that purpose in life where we are contributing and we are getting that value and that sense of purpose that we all want to have as humans in our time here. So a knowledge person, as I mentioned, they go quiet, and so as an example, a power person to bring someone away or out of conflict is, you could say, you know what, knowledge, I have always made my sound decisions based off of your solid research. And I look to you to give me this data. And that's where they will come to life, back to life, and they will start to share and open up again, because that is what they see the most value. So again, people on the spectrum, they can't read the room. So when you have your arms crossed like this, and you may have left the conversation, but you're still sitting there, your eyes are rolling back, and you've let, because what they're doing is they love to expose and expand on their knowledge, but they don't know that they might be talking your ear off. Right. And that's something they just don't get it. And I share an example of this amazing woman. And I think it will resonate with a lot of people. I got her because I did a Core Values Index on her, but she was profound in knowledge, and she had untappable energy and love. Now, she was married, and she is a very smart woman. She learned her sorry, She took her law degree in her fourth language, which was English. So that's crazy already. That's her fourth language, and she's taking a law degree. And mistakenly, she went into family law. So, divorce. And so she's like, all right, let's get you divorced. And they wanted to cry on her shoulder a little bit. They wanted more empathy. They wanted more understanding. Yet she was black and white facts. Let me help you. Let me help you. I've got your file. Let's get all this together. But she wasn't connecting with the people that were coming to her, and she also didn't like the bureaucracy and red tape and perhaps politics of working in a larger firm, because that's not in her to give. She also had her own room at home, not her own bedroom, but her own space at home, her own room, where she could decompress in her own comfort of the privacy of herself. She really, really recharged her batteries by being by herself. And I find people that have high knowledge like to do that. They need to have time to process and to think. They also, if in conflict, they can't think on their toes like someone who is in love or power or wisdom. They can't think on their toes as quickly, so they just shut down. So recognizing if someone is higher in knowledge, you need to give them the time in order for them to pontificate and think about how, so they have appropriate time to respond. Otherwise, they just shut down and it becomes an unpositive experience for everybody. So it's read and analyze, the conservation of information. Catalytic value is justice. It's got to be fair and equitable for everybody. I need to go back to the woman, the law gal. So she was going back, and she needed to change into, like, if you want someone to be in corporate law where she can translate, a binder this thick from English to Russian, she's your gal. And there's not many people in this world who can do this. And the world needs people like her. And she even said to me, and it made me sad for her, she goes, there's people in my life, that in my family, that I know love me. And there's people that I know in my family, I think they tolerate me or maybe don't like me. And that's because they don't get her. They don't get that she's still very, feels love. She has every feeling we all do, but she doesn't emote it. So we think she's an odd duck. And I was doing a coaching meeting with her, and we're out having sushi, which is one of my favorites. And I'm cutting my sashimi with my chopsticks. Now I have to also go back to this gal. She, for the fun of it, learned Japanese. For the fun of it. Who does that? He does, right? Knowledge, the conservation of data. This is where it gratifies her. She feels like she's contributing to the world by learning and learning. And she says, even like, Cliff Clavin from that old TV show Cheers, where he was just a random walking encyclopedia. Did you know? She's kind of like the Cliff Clavin. And she said, it always comes in handy. There's never been a time that any information has not been valuable for her. But I'm cutting my sashimi. And she goes, did you know in Japan, if the chef saw you and people around you saw you cutting your sashimi, it would be seen as disrespectful to the chef who prepared it, and also rude to the fish who gave its life for you. So it's frowned upon. And I just took it as a fun fact. I'm in Calgary, Canada here. So I took it as a fun fact, and it didn't mean anything to me because I get her. 10 minutes later, she says to me, oh, Patty, I hope I didn't offend you by saying that. Because her social emotional intelligence will always for her be an afterthought. It'll never be a forethought. And appreciate, she's been hammered all her life. You got to be friendlier. You got to do this. You got to ask people questions and all this. And so, but it's not in her to give. And so I just need to underscore that the world needs her. She's loved, and the world needs her energy and her contribution, but she was being needed to underscore. And so when you recognize what's a light energy for you, you want to find people that you trust in your life that is of the opposite energy, and then together you're better. And I do this with business teams. I do this with succession planning. And what I mean by succession planning is I can tell if you're wired to be, let's say, a power or leader. And an example was an engineering firm. The president, very progressive at only 53, wanted to identify 4 or 5 people on his team that he can start to succeed for the next 4 or 5 years. And then ultimately one person would be the president. One of the individuals that was chosen, he was profound in wisdom and he was untappable in power. So a president of a firm needs to be able to make a termination decision, a hiring decision, a merger or acquisition, a financial decision. They need to be moving and a shaking, right? And this individual, he would be in extreme anxiety and stress if he had to terminate someone. He could not do it by himself. He would need a whole team in order to support him. And that is not what a president needs. So why put him in a role that he's not wired for? Put you in a role that you're wired for. What I love about people that are on the bottom heavy side, they are excellent at structure, process, repetition, attention to detail. That they can hammer out code. They can replicate something over and over and over again with high accuracy, and the world needs those people too. And I have another example. Prior to COVID, this one firm, they build pumps in the oil and gas industry. And the gentleman who is the manufacturing manager, he is wisdom knowledge. So he's absolutely wired for the manufacturing of pumps, to make sure that all processes were followed to a T, because you need quality assurance, quality control. But he was really light on the love side. And so I said to him, I go, I'm not saying pretend or be inauthentic, but I know it's not your front energy or your front question, but show, like work that muscle and show and ask and be curious. So remember, love is talk and listen. So it's a curiosity, and just say, so he did this on Monday morning. He goes, how was everybody's weekend? This is my love speaking. They laughed at him and they said, oh, match and whatever. But that little bit of him showing that he cared what they thought about and how and what their lives were like ingratiated him more. And ironically, that helped him. He still was the same man doing amazing work, but that helped him be accepted in a higher level of regard. Sometimes people will suppress who they are. I also need to talk about warping. So warping comes into play based on how we are raised in our familial home. So in how we're raised, we could be a only child, we might be wealthy, we might be middle class, we might be poor. As an example from me, I grew up with 3 brothers. I'm the second youngest, and I was and my parents unfortunately had financial issues and they went bankrupt when I was a teenager. My mom shared with me, said to me basically when I was 15, so grade 10, Patty, we don't have the money to give you for clothes and your spending money. You must either find work or you're going to have to basically pay your own way. So, I understood. I wasn't like, oh, bad mom. I understood what was happening. And so I started capitalizing more on my power. I started taking more action. And as an HR consultant and business consultant, I land in my clients, building, so to speak, and I have to get the lay of the land quickly, and then I have to start taking action. And I might be saying, stop that right now because you're putting your business at risk. So my point is I'm using my power more than the numbers would show. So I have exercised my third muscle, my third energy, which is my power muscle, more as I have grown and matured, and coming from my family home with 3 brothers, literally having to fight for my own candy, and there was no princess factor going on at home. In fact, I was the first and only asked to pay rent, and so I moved out at the youngest, and I got married at the youngest, and so I was using my power. So I wanted to bring up your family experience because sometimes people will suppress parts of who they are. Sometimes people will suppress parts of their love because they might have a parent who is more power or a parent who is more wisdom. And so you might suppress parts of who you are. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the warping that comes into play. So us humans, we like people that are like ourselves. And so when you have people that are different than you, we are quicker to judge. Right or wrong, that's just what we do. And I also feel our world has never been more divided ever, coming off of COVID. Do you vaccinate, do you not, do you wear a mask, do you not, all of those things that come into play. So I just see high value in core values index.